Welcome to TPMvids Disney Beat, where we talk about all things Disney. If you're new to the channel and like what you see, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video. You can also find us on all your favorite social media platforms. The Disney theme parks are just filled with so many hidden details, and when it comes to Disneyland Paris, there are surprises around every corner. Imagineers have left behind so much to be discovered. So let's go on a little scavenger hunt and count down 10 hidden secrets and Easter eggs at Disneyland Paris. Part 4. Number 10. Over in Fantasyland, one of the many shops you can find here is the Dwarfs Cottage. I've said this before, but if you don't explore the shops here at Disneyland Paris, you're missing out on so much. Imagineers have made every single one of them into these little mini attractions filled with so much detail. So as you make your way inside the cottage, once you look beyond the abundance of Frozen merch clearly Frozen sells, there are many clues that signal the 7 dwarfs live here. Now if you head to the left-hand side of the shop, it's here where you'll find their little wooden beds. There are 7 of them, one for each of the dwarfs, and Imagineers use their French names. Simplette is dopey, Achoum, which sounds like a chew, is sneezy, Joyeux is happy, Timide is bashful, Grandchamp is grumpy, Prof is doc, and Dormeur is sleepy. Now, hidden in the store, you can also find the English names of all the 7 dwarfs. You just need to know where to look. Across from the beds, you'll want to look up for this set of mugs hanging along the wooden beam. There are 7 mugs, and written on each of them is the dwarfs' names in English. I really do love how the French and English names coexist in the same space. Now, when the dwarfs need to leave the cottage and go dig with their shovel or pick, they obviously need keys to lock up. Well, if you find this cuckoo clock on the left-hand side just above the beds, you'll see some keys hanging on the wall. Well, I counted 7 keys, but then something else caught my eye. Hidden on one of them is the Disney D. Isn't that cool? The real question is, which of the 7 dwarfs does this belong to? Either way, it's a pretty neat little Easter egg to find, and again, do not miss the 7 Dwarfs Cottage. Number 9. Adventure Isle in Adventureland is full of so many places to explore. From the Swiss Robinson treehouse to all the other outdoor paths, there are a lot of great vantage points. Now, this area of the park is also home to Ben Gunn's Cave, which can be accessed from behind Skull Rock. There are quite a few different entrances, but did you know that in one of them you can find some hidden treasure? Yeah, it's a cool little thing to explore and see. So the easiest way to find it will be to look for the sign that says Davy Jones's Locker. Once you enter, just be warned that it is really dark in here, and the caves can be very disorienting. Now, the key to finding the treasure is to stick to your left-hand side. If you're ever given the option to go right, don't. Now, as you make your descent into the cave, you may come across some skeletons left behind, might see some waterfalls, and then you will get glimpses of the treasure. You just need to make your way into the bottomless pit, and then you'll get that up-close view to that hidden treasure. Again, this is another one of those little details that goes undiscovered by so many people. The caverns are really fun, and it's truly a scavenger hunt. So definitely try to set some time aside to try it for yourself. Number 8. At the back of Main Street over on the Liberty Arcade side, you can find the All-American Sporting Goods store. It's on the upper level of what's Casey's Corner down below, and it's just a faux exterior. I'm pretty sure the second floor here is still used for Walt's Restaurant. Anyway, since Casey's Corner is baseball themed and this is a sporting goods store, Imagineers hid a few baseball symbols on the exterior of the building. So what you're looking for are baseballs, bats, and bases. Everything you'd need to play a game of baseball, and they are literally hidden in plain sight. Can you spot any of them? Okay, if you haven't found the objects yet, are you ready to discover where they are? So disguised as pillars on the side of each window are actually baseball bats holding up the wooden molding above. Just beside the bats, that circular decorative piece is really a baseball, and you can see the stitching detail on this close-up. There are actually a couple more baseballs on the ground level that are much easier to see. Then finally, there are 3 bases. 2 are found on the sides just above the baseball, and the final one is right at the top in the center of the building. And if you look all the way up, there's even a trophy fixed to the top. It's ready to be awarded to the winner of the game. I mean, the attention to detail here on Main Street in Paris makes it one of the best main streets in any Disney theme park. Don't you agree? Number 7. Next, let's head over to the Walt Disney Studios Park to check out Toy Story Playland. Now, this was the very first Toy Story themed land built in any Disney theme park. And just like Hollywood Studios, you can find Andy's giant footprint in the middle of the walkway. Being Pixar's very first animated film, Toy Story always holds a special place in animation history. Well, right here in the land, you can actually find 2 numerical codes that are little hidden tributes to the film's release date. So over at Toy Soldier's parachute drop, once you enter the queue, you'll find this green Jeep nestled in the tall grass. On the passenger side, the numbers 112295 are written on the hood. Well, if we turn those numbers into a date, it becomes November 22nd, 1995, which was the release date of Toy Story. You can also find the same numerical code on the lookout tower near the back of the ride. It was easier to see this one from outside of the land. Now, Toy Story wasn't released on the same day in France as it was in the US. So, if we head on over to the white plane that acts as the ride's marquee, you'll find the code PL270396 written on the plane's tail. Well, if we turned these numbers into a date, it becomes March 27th, 1996, which was the release date of Toy Story in France. I love how they even use the date format in Europe of day, month, year for this code, compared to the month, day, year format in the United States. Number 6. Frontierland here at Disneyland Paris brings us into the fictional mining town of Thunder Mesa. Well, how the story goes is that back in 1860, the Thunder Mesa Mining Company had to close the gold mine due to an earthquake. The miners all left, leaving only the farmers and ranchers, where Thunder Mesa then became a lot more about community. One of the places everyone would gather was in this red barn, now known as the Cowboy Cookout Barbecue Restaurant. As the name suggests, the restaurant serves up some great barbecue food. Now inside, it's a pretty large space, definitely big enough for an entire community to come and hang out. You may have already noticed that the tables and chairs in the restaurant are all different, and no, it's not because Disney couldn't find a complete set. This was actually all done on purpose, and it helps tell the Thunder Mesa story. So after the gold rush ended, the town was hit pretty hard economically. In order for everyone to have a place to sit, all the residents would bring their own tables and chairs into the restaurant, sort of donating them to the community. That's how we ended up with this mismatched collection of furniture. I mean, the level of authenticity in Frontierland is like no other. You could literally spend hours here just exploring the land and finding little details. Number 5. So there's that saying where there's smoke, there's fire. And luckily for Disneyland Paris, that's not always the case. Well, the Cowboy Cookout restaurant did catch on fire last year, and thankfully the building survived and no one was hurt. But all around Disneyland, there are some smoky details to keep an eye out for. Let's just start here in Frontierland. Right at the entrance, you'll find these 3 teepees, and if you're there at the right time, the middle one will emit smoke from the top, like someone inside could be cooking. Then on Main Street, over here on the right-hand side, you can find this ad for the coffee grinder, where the coffee cup can usually be seen steaming with hot coffee. Then before you enter the Darlings room on Peter Pan's flight, the London rooftop chimneys blow smoke. And lastly, in Adventureland, you can find Aladdin's magic lamp just past the bazaar. Now, it is supposed to smoke when you rub it, but when I was there, it just kept smoking on its own. Talk about true genie magic. However, it never hurts to rub the lamp because you might just awaken the genie, who in this case speaks French.
Y'a pas quelqu'un pour me délivrer? J'ai un torticolis. J'en peux plus. Please, help.
Number 4. The Disneyland park is just filled with so many beautiful stained glass pieces. It's literally a stained glass showcase. They are everywhere, from inside the castle to Fantasyland and even on Main Street. Well, if you enter the Emporium and head to the center of the shop, you'll be wowed by this gorgeous stained glass dome. This is one of those things that every Disney Emporium should have. It's absolutely stunning. Well, since Main Street USA is all about celebrating Americana at the turn of the century, this glass dome actually pays tribute to many influential American inventors. Each glass panel on top has the inventor's picture and their name. George Washington Carver developed hundreds of products using peanuts, sweet potato, and soybeans. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Henry Ford invented an affordable automobile for the middle class. Robert Fulton invented the first commercially successful steamboat. Nikola Tesla is known for his contributions to the modern alternating current electricity supply system. Then the Wright brothers invented the first successful airplane. George Eastman was the inventor of Kodak. And Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, among many other inventions. So next time you're strolling down Main Street USA, take a second to head into the Emporium and admire this gorgeous glass dome. Number 3. Here at Disneyland Paris, Imagineers recycled a few Fantasyland facades from Disneyland in California, one of them being the exterior of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. The only difference here in Paris is that instead of it being a ride, Toad Hall is actually a restaurant. Now, Fantasyland in Paris is broken up into smaller sections based on specific European countries. Toad Hall, along with Peter Pan's Flight and the Alice Maze, is the British section. So naturally, Toad Hall serves up fish and chips. Now, when I visited, the restaurant was unfortunately closed, but one very clever little detail can be found on the inscription below the armor. So you can see it says, "No consumas froglagas." It's meant to be a Latin phrase, but it's really just some fake Latin Imagineers came up with, and it was written to mean "do not consume frog legs." Since frog legs are a French delicacy, Toad wanted to make sure the Parisians visiting Toad Hall didn't want to try to eat his legs. I mean, you can't blame them. One could think that because the restaurant is themed after a toad, they'd be serving the French delicacy. Now, any of you that are watching right now, have you ever eaten frog legs before? I mean, I haven't, but I would be so curious to know what they taste like. Number 2. Heading back to the Walt Disney Studios Park, you're going to want to head over to the Animation Celebration building. Now, once you're about here, look down at the ground and try to find this stamp in the corner of the pavement. Naturally, you wouldn't really think anything of it since it looks like your typical stamp you'd find on sidewalks or other concrete projects. Well, this is actually one of the coolest little Easter eggs here at Walt Disney Studios. It is hard to read because it's backwards, and that is for a very specific reason. Now, once we flip the image, you can see it says Mortimer & Co. 1928 Contractors. Well, this fictitious company is actually a little hidden tribute to Mickey Mouse. So if you didn't know, Mortimer was originally the name Walt Disney gave to Mickey Mouse before his wife Lillian suggested Mickey. And 1928 is the year Mickey made his on-screen debut in Steamboat Willie. Now you might be asking, why is this stamp backwards? Well, since technically this part of the park is Toon Studios, the idea is that we're stuck in a cartoon. So us looking at it in the cartoon would be seeing it backwards, so that anyone watching the cartoon from the outside looking in would be able to read the stamp. Isn't that clever? It's such a small and subtle hidden detail that has so much meaning, and it's so easy to miss. Number 1. Back over in Fantasyland, Chalet de la Marionnette is a Pinocchio-themed quick-service restaurant. Inside, it's themed with German flair, while the wood carvings and paintings tell the story of Pinocchio. Well, if you head towards the cash registers and go to your right, here you'll find what's sort of a secret room. As you can tell, the theming here takes on more of a nautical flair, and it's actually supposed to represent one of the shipwrecks inside Monstro the Whale's belly. That's kind of cool, huh? Now, as you make your way further and further inside, the nautical motif continues into this room. But by the window on the left-hand side, you'll notice a cage hanging from the ceiling. Why is there a cage here? Well, this cage just happens to be the birdcage that Stromboli uses to lock up Pinocchio. How cool is that? Now, these Monstro rooms aren't open very often, so sometimes you may not get a chance to actually see this in person. But never fear, because there is a backup. So, Chalet de la Marionnette also has an entrance from Adventureland. And if you peek through the window to the left of the door, you can also see the cage hanging from here. I just love that since this side of the restaurant is in Adventureland, the theming of these two dining rooms coincides with the land. Again, the Imagineers' attention to detail here at Disneyland Paris is unlike any other. It's truly such a special park. So, have you ever visited Disneyland Paris? Do you have any favorite hidden Disney secrets or details? I'd love to know. Leave a comment down below to start a conversation, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video.